I just got to see behind the curtain at one of the magician's great tricks. Stugotz is no longer here. He has a golf outing with Chris Cody and Bob Does Sports on the company dime. Stugotz is golfing, and he was supposed to be here for a couple of hours, but this is the magic at work I just saw. He has his backpack on. He is clearly leaving, and I ask him, "Are you leaving?" And he points over his shoulder and says, "Mike told me to leave." And then Mike comes in here, and I witness him saying to Stugotz, "I didn't tell you to leave." And he's like, "Yeah, you did." And Mike was like, "Nope. Just saw that you put your backpack on, and that's pretty much a sign that you're leaving, because why would you sit in the seat if you weren't leaving?" So he's going to golf. Billy, you're familiar with his work in this area.
Well, this is actually a great trick that was pulled today, because he said to everyone all week that he was not coming at all today because he had to go golf. So then what happens is he comes for an hour, so he's doing everyone else a favor. And also, the person golfing with him today is Chris Cody, who couldn't be here because he was going to golf. So now by him coming for an hour, it seems like Chris Cody could have been here for an hour but didn't come today. And I don't know that it was ever communicated to Chris that Stugotz changed his mind and decided to come today when he couldn't originally come today, came for an hour. So we should say thank you for coming for an hour, but then leaves even though no one told him to leave.
A magic trick. He looks better than Chris Cody, looks like he cares more. Chris Cody clearly deserves the time off because he's tired from making that Halloween costume that was a fork in the road.
David said that was the best costume, so...
My favorite part about going in there confused, because his whole argument for me telling him to leave was, remember when you said, "Are you leaving?" He thought that was me telling him, "Go ahead and leave," apparently.
You did technically say leave.
Are you leaving? I don't understand. He also said he was going to be here for the entirety of the Big Suey, yet one segment in, he says goodbye.
It's all about intonation. In print, it all sounds the same, but like, "Are you leaving?" Like, that means like, "Oh, man, are you leaving?" And it's like, "Are you leaving?" means get out of here. So how did you say, "Are you leaving?"
And not the way that he would take it that I told him to leave.
Did you text it? But did you see it in print?
Yeah.
Because then there's the confusion.
He had his backpack up very clearly leaving, and I asked him, "Hey, are you leaving?" And he's like, "Yeah, you told me to. Just now when you asked, are you leaving?" Yeah. What?
They are great mind tricks. Also, what I witnessed was Mike Ryan saying to him, "Hey, we've only done one segment of Big Suey." And Stugotz looking in his face and saying, "So we've done 2 segments of Big Suey?" And
it happened just like that.
It happened just like that.
Like that.
And it's because his mind is fried from drugs.
Wait, to be clear, what was the gap in time between you saying one segment and his?
I just did it the way that it happened.
That's how it went down.
Blow for blow right there.
That's the way it happened. In fact, it made me feel for Mike. Mike has oddly developed more patience as he's more tired with all of the dysfunction around here than he's ever been. I was oddly surprised that Mike, after saying that quickly, wasn't befuddled or stunned, because I was standing next to it. To have conversationally happen, Mike Ryan tell Stugotz, "We've done one segment of Big Suey," and Stugotz clap his hands as he's leaving and say, "So we've done 2 segments of Big Suey?" That's how that happened.
As an outside observer, I don't know if it's that he's developed more patience or he's giving an F less.
That's the one.
It's probably that one.
That's the
like,
one.
Here's the thing.
They look the same.
But because if we're gonna kind of go peel back the fourth wall,
Ooh, let's do it.
Amin's here, so Stugotz gets up and Amin slides in. Like,
A little convenient.
I mean,
it's pretty great. It's pretty great.
I didn't say that.
He emerges.
I'm just
from
saying,
the
Mike has options here.
It's certainly an upgrade from an honesty standpoint.
Well, but it might not be an upgrade from a delirious standpoint, because Amin came in here and looked at me, and when I looked in his eyes, he looked a bit crazed, and he was wearing yesterday on him, whatever it is that happened yesterday. I've been wanting to talk to him about this James Harden trade.
So we've done 2 segments of Big Suey now.
The James Harden gets what he wants tour is really amazing to watch. What are you spreading your arms for as if this is your victory lap?
It is my victory lap. Because months ago, when James would say, "Daryl Morey's a liar," and Damian Lillard showing up to Portland's practice facility saying, "I just want to get to know the young guys," That's not how you do it. Do you want something in the NBA as a superstar? You don't ask nicely. You don't try to be polite. You don't go along to get along. You make a big effing mess. And yes, everyone had jokes and the AI memes of fat James Harden not being allowed on the plane by 2 TSA agents wrestling him, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, one guy got to go exactly where he wanted to go, and one guy didn't. And it goes to show everything that I've been saying from the beginning. If you want something in the NBA, you don't play nice, you don't be a professional, you make a huge effing mess, and that's how you get to where you want to go.
Let's get to that sound from All the Smoke. They do a great job on that show and on those adjacent shows. And Kendrick Perkins was on with them and was talking, I think, about the time that they were teammates at OKC. And this is what Kendrick Perkins had to say about that James Harden. This is 14, this
is his first appearance in the NBA Finals. They lose in 5 to Miami.
So it's about 10 years ago or more, around there. Let's see what we've got here.
Man, James ain't give a and you know why. King of Diamonds and everything caught a hold in his hands, man. We couldn't get him in. See, in San Antonio, look, in San Antonio, he didn't have a damn thing to do.
Yeah,
we got to Miami. It was everything to do. We couldn't get that motherfucker to buy a bucket in that motherfucker.
He sure was killing us in San Antonio, bro. God damn.
That's tough.
Yeah, he had to get his rest. In Miami, he couldn't get his rest. Was out here night.
he said he couldn't get his rest.
It's that obvious that because San Antonio doesn't have a thriving strip club commerce community, James Harden plays better there empirically because he can't be as tired.
You know what the irony is? It's always funny to me how players find their rhythm or find their routine, right? Steven Jackson, who's in that clip, played on the 2007 We Believe Warriors, the ones that upset the Dallas Mavericks in the first round. Do you remember what happened to them in the second round? Does anyone remember?
They got beat up,
They got beat up by the Utah Jazz, and they lost in 5.
That was a great Mavs team, and that was
the best record in the league.
One of at the time, only the second 8 seed to ever beat a 1 seed. It hadn't happened very often.
Yeah, it was still a rarity at that point. The third, I believe. The first was
in the
Seattle.
best of 7. I think it might have been the first because there was the Nuggets and then the lockout shortened season where the Knicks
That Warriors team was so much fun.
So this is apparently that team. Their thing was after every game, we're going out. If it was a home game, they went out to, there's a bar in Oracle that they would go to. They had a drink called Simply the Best. It was their signature concoction. And they went out hard every night. And so against Dallas, they were going out hard every night and playing great. When they got to Utah, they couldn't go out, and so it messed their rhythm up. And they say that's why they lost that series, is because they couldn't go out. In the case of James Harden, in Miami, he could go out, and he went apparently too hard, and it all fell apart. But I believe it as a 23-year-old, 24-year-old. I could see that happening.
How about as a 33-year-old, which is what he's doing now and going to Los Angeles?
I could see it happening more.
Mike, when you see this happen as someone who's been hurt by Lillard not being in Miami and the course correction of GMs grabbing the power back with Damian Lillard as the central figure, when James Harden does everything he does and has less value at this point in his career than Damian Lillard and gets exactly what he wants, maybe at least in part because he has less value, do you find yourself getting mad that Lillard is the only one that didn't get exactly what he wanted?
Yeah, I've been mad about that for a while, that Lillard could never, for the last few years, find the right approach, not the right approach.
It's the wrong approach.
Well, we can all agree it wasn't effective in getting what he wants, and I don't understand how James Harden always gets what he wants, and what it does for me as a Heat fan just fuels this kooky conspiracy theory that I have. Is part of the problem is I don't want guys to go to Miami. Now I don't understand why Portland would feel that way, being that they're in a different conference, but the way that the Lillard thing was covered in the media. Let's just look at ESPN and Woj. was totally different. Now, Harden, you could argue, is at a similar stage in his career as Lillard. So what is going on here? Fewer takers? Possibly. But for whatever reason, Lillard's pursuit of Miami and Miami's pursuit of Lillard was just covered differently than all these other ones. And it's weird. Why is it different? It can't be different because he's been the most loyal guy. What are the variables at play here? And as a Heat fan, I just think haters. Haters is what I think.
Thank you.
Pedro Bang agrees with you. Just real quick, I mean, the Clippers are going to be what? James Harden's going to be what? Those are 3 players and Westbrook. Those are in George, Kawhi, and James Harden. Those are all guys who need to have the basketball.
Do you want me to give you the most optimistic version of why I think this could work? I'm not on this, but if you ask me to be the most optimistic version of myself.
It's worth it for the Clippers to try it, is it not? They're giving up next to nothing for star power. Ballmer wants to make them relevant, wants to keep them in the game. It makes sense for them to try it, whether it works or not.
It's not next to nothing. I think it's next to nothing of what's here right now. Those picks, which are unprotected, that first-round pick in 2028, 5 years from now, which is very likely none of these guys are going to be there to see it, right? But in terms of the right now, the biggest thing that James Harden can provide this team is the concept of insurance, right? What has the Clippers' problem been for the last few years, right?
That's a great point.
Guys are hurt. Yeah. Guys are unavailable. Guys are not there. So what
you throw enough fragile guys, surely one of them's got to be healthy.
It's got to cover. Right?
James Harden is going to have one of these games with 9 threes just because Kawhi and Paul George aren't playing.
You won't sweat an injury so much. Honestly, if they're all healthy, there might be more of an issue than if
they're better off. They are legitimately better off if they're not all healthy.
There's one guy that needs to be healthy
at the end, not all season, just at the end. With a giant smile on his face and a delirious look in his eye, Amin came into this studio excited and said, "Have you guys talked about what Dabo Swinney did?" The answer to your question is yes. I believe it was yesterday's finest segment, just roaring with laughter at a series of condescensions and fury that Dabo unleashed on Tyler, who I was told yesterday we were in hot pursuit of Tyler. We came very close to getting Tyler, but have not yet found Tyler. We want to do the follow-up interview to what Dabo did to Tyler. So I'm sorry, it's off the table. But what is still on the table for you, Amin, is the magical story of Connor Stallions. What happened?
One thing. Did you guys talk about Tony Elliott?
We did not.
Oh, so that's my favorite part.
About how he discovered Tony Elliott and never called a play in the game, took us to 2 national championships.
My favorite part is just he's like, I took Tony Elliott's bum ass off the street. He ain't even had a pot to piss in, and I made him into a national championship twice. Who could have done that? And somewhere Tony Elliott's like, what has it to do with me, man?
Just be North Carolina, I'm not that bad.
The fact that Tony Elliott's in his office somewhere, because where does he coach now?
Virginia.
He's in his office, and it's like, oh, Dabo went off. Let's hear this call. And he's like, oh my God, that's classic Dabo. And then he goes into Tony Elliott. What this got to do with me, man?
Well, we were laughing more than that at just him listing his credentials and saying, I wanted to be a father and I have 3 kids. I can imagine his 3 kids being like, what, Dad? We're just trophies?
The media's been very mean to me, and I would just like to say that now that the Stanford Cardinals in the ACC, I'd like to see that tree. That tree's got a big old mouth. Tyler.
What?
Hey, yo.
I am
They're
here.
all coaches horny.
I want her to be free
It's
with
a good-looking mascot. That's all I'm saying.
with the impersonations, even if they all sound like Jimbo Fisher.
Like horny Jimbo.
Now, wait a second. You're stealing my bit.
I want to talk, though, about Connor Stallions because
I can't believe that's his name.
It's a real name.
That's not a real name.
For those of you who do not know, we don't know what's real or not real about this person, and we're about to do an investigation because this person is Michigan adjacent. His name is now on all of our minds because this keeps getting funnier and weirder, and Harbaugh might have to flee Michigan and in disgrace because what might be uncovered here has the possibility of being a great combination of funny and embarrassing.
And every day there is something new that comes out, and teams are cooperating. And yesterday, The Athletic posted a piece that featured photos of someone who was purported to be Connor Stalions. And Jim McElwain had a press conference addressing these photos, saying, we don't know who that person is on the sideline. Connor Stalions was not credentialed.
This is a Central Michigan game. That's where Jim McElwain is now.
Right now on your screens, you're seeing someone in a very poor disguise, a Central Michigan hat and sunglasses
at night
on the sideline, and there are additional photos of him going as far to fist pump when there's a play that goes in Central Michigan's direction. This is allegedly Connor Stalions, the Michigan staffer that has been their spy of sorts. Now, if you're looking at these photos, you probably want a little bit more evidence, but we have for you a face morph, and it would appear that the person in question, the mysterious Central Michigan Chippewa staffer, might indeed be Connor Stalions.
So this was at Michigan State. It was, I believe, a season opener, Central Michigan at Michigan State, so it makes sense that he was there. One of the funnier parts is there were a lot of plays that went over towards that sideline, and if we saw allegedly Connor Stalions, every time would pull his hat down or hide his face or try to avoid the camera when he knew that it was going to be in his direction, if that was him, which I believe it was.
It was also a Friday night game, and the Michigan game was the next day, so it was feasible that he could have been at both. And the fact that, like, Central Michigan is still not sure who it is, even though, like, no one's come forward yet and been like, that's me, guys. Like, obviously it's me. So,
yeah,
like,
no, that's not that guy. I was credentialed that day.
It was Ed Norton.
It does give pause. It also just seems so absurd that this could, like, there's so many cameras on the sidelines. Like, how would you get away with this?
I love how oversized his hat is. And it just looks like such a bad disguise. There is an honor amongst thieves when it comes to this stuff, and a lot of people would prefer that you don't dig into this stuff because a lot of coaches, from whispers that I've heard, do something like this. But having someone
not
dressed,
this. No, not this.
I said something
but
like this.
This is not.
This is unprecedented. Having someone disguised as a staffer on another team is a whole new level.
I'll bite. Why? What possible gain does he have from infiltrating Central Michigan staff?
Well, he was stealing the Michigan State signs, allegedly, if this would be him, and they played Michigan State last weekend. So that would be, I presume, the reason that people were, like, looking into this in the first place, because someone's watching this now, going back and saying, like, where, was this guy on the sidelines at other games, and can we catch him on film?
He couldn't have done that, like, from a regular seat in the stands?
He did.
That's part of the allegations, but this would be perhaps his greatest caper.
There was a Bruce Feldman story that came out this morning where he interviewed a bunch of a bunch of college football coaches anonymously and asked them to, like, say their honest opinion about this. Like, is this something that you think is a big deal? Is this something that you do? Should this be taken seriously? And it did seem like the overwhelming majority of college football coaches do think that this is, like, so far, not necessarily the Central Michigan thing, because we don't know if that's him or not, but what we do know so far, it is a really big deal, and it's not something that every team does. They don't all electronically steal signals, and they're not all flying staff across the country to, like, videotape from the opposing sidelines. So whether you believe that or not, because I think a lot of college football coaches have a reason to lie about it, or to at least, like, pretend like they're, holier than thou situation, they do all seem fairly pissed off about it still.
So Nebraska's playing Michigan State this weekend. If you're Nebraska, you 100% hire someone that looks like that to be on your sideline, right? Like, everyone in the Big Ten should be getting someone that looks sort of like that dressed up on their sidelines just to get it on film, just to bring down Michigan, right?
So he allegedly went to every Big Ten stadium except for one, and I know for a fact he did not go to an Iowa game. Wow. He was like, we don't need those signs. Yeah. We're good. I don't even think they have signs. We're fine, Jim. We don't need it.
It's either paper, rock, or scissors.
The sign they have is a stop sign.
It just says punt. I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Can we, just for a second, though, like we can sit here and talk about all how common is this, how common is it not, how much of an advantage does it give you, how much does it not? But the sheer brazenness of having someone in a disguise on a staff he doesn't belong to is one kind of hilarious. But the next kind of hilarious is, how does no one on Jim McElwain's staff look to their right or left and ask, who is this person who is standing here with us?
I could totally see it happening. When your staffs are all locked in on a game doing their job. If you look at a college football sideline, there's a bunch of people that are in the background wearing team-issued polos, and you don't know what they do. They could be filling up Gatorade bottles. They could be analysts hired. When you're locked in on a game, someone wearing they could be staffers from the administration. You don't know. You figure if someone has a credential and they're wearing a Central Michigan polo, someone gave them access.
Yeah, there's tons of people on the sidelines that, like Lucy and I have both been on the sidelines of college football games, and you just kind of blend in with the crowd at a lot of... We work in the media. You get a media credential. It's not a look at me, but that's fine. I'll take it. I'm very cool. There's a lot of people on most of these big college football staffs, and if you're a white guy with a hat, it's kind of easy to blend in. Lucy and I might stand out.
If you're watching somebody on the sidelines and you're not focused on the game, let me know so we can fire that person.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be focused on the game, buddy.
That's right.
Don't be looking around. Don't, hey, who's this guy? Hey, don't worry about that guy. Worry about the 11 guys right there.
I like this.
Thank you.
I like the idea of the staffer that finds out, like, hey, that guy's not on our staff. And Jim McElwain's like, thank you. Also, clear your locker.
See ya.
Get out of here.
The other thing I liked from the Bruce Feldman article that came out in The Athletic was that a few reactions were like, yeah, this is pretty crazy, but like it's actually even crazier that they got caught. This is really sloppy. Like we're all doing something like this, but this is by far the sloppiest operation. This guy had a manifesto, Dan.
Tell me about this.
Do you think this is the only time he tried this approach? Because I need more photos in different regalia.
500 pages was the manifesto. What do we know about the manifesto?
He wrote a manifesto with his idea of like how to make Michigan. This was Richard Johnson from Sports Illustrated put this article out last week. Very good reporting. Everyone should go read it. It was a manifesto about like his ideas for the Michigan football program. And the word manifesto alone, in combination with the state of Michigan, should alarm people.
He hates democracy and gluten.
Can we please put up on the screen just the photo, because I did not know that Jim McElwain was the Central Michigan coach. The most famous moment in Jim McElwain's career.
Now, you know this isn't him.
That's him.
I do know it's not him.
Yeah, that's him.
Can we have
I
the
need
same
a face morph.
face morphing over his ass only?
We're going to need to do that investigation.
Hell yeah.
This is not Jim McElwain. We are told, reportedly, allegedly, McElwain has denied this in the most serious of fashions, but this is
And
allegedly.
also,
He was asking a press conference, are you naked on a shark?
Caleb Presley of Barstool did the greatest in-depth reporting on this I have ever found out. I've ever seen on it, and they actually found the guy that was on the shark. And Jim McElwain, there's a great moment where Jim McElwain shakes that guy's hand. He goes over to Central Michigan, and Jim McElwain finally meets this person that is actually on the shark.
And that man, of course, was Connor Stallions in a disguise.
It's obvious this isn't the shark picture isn't Jim McElwain, because a college football coach is not going to have that good of a tan. They're always crutin'. They're not anywhere with their shirt off. And this guy's got a very obvious ass to shirt tan line.
How does that man feel? The man who's not Jim McElwain?
He looks happy there.
Yeah, there.
He
there.
was a good sport about it.
Yeah, but once that, okay, but maybe he was a good sport about
When
it.
you're naked on a shark, I don't think that you really care, Dan.
You may not. I do wonder, though, if people who love that person wonder to themselves whether they want to see all of him go viral.
How's the shark feel? No one asked that question.
I think he feels great. They're in second place in their division in the MAC right now.
They feel a little rough to the touch, by the way.
Big win over Northern Illinois last night.
I meant, how did the shark feel emotionally?
Oh.
Yeah, the shark, and this part gets overlooked because it takes a dark turn. The shark is dead.
Oh.
Yeah. Sorry.